Hello everyone and welcome to the first Winged review. With this, there's going to be no editing or script or anything like that. It's just going to be me making up as I go along, trying to wing it. Now, yesterday, friends and I went to see X-Men First Class, and generally both of us were really impressed with it. He said it was the best one so far. I actually preferred X-Men 3. I think that one's really good. I know, weird, but yeah. The general plot starts off with Eric in 1944. Pretty much it was the same scenes as was in the original film, where he gets separated from his parents. He's taken into a room with one of the Nazis who knows about the mutant gene, and he tries to get Magneto to move a coin. Because he can't do it, camera pans around and you can see a room in the background that looks like a torture chamber pretty much. There's all these like metal beds and there's all these weird tools hanging up in the background, saws, hammers, and all that sort of thing. So I thought he was gonna get him to do something with that, but he then brought in the mother and said that if he couldn't move the coin, he was going to shoot the mother. Of course, can't do it, so they shoot him, and that's when I thought he was going to get all these cool implements and murder the people who just killed his mother. But no, he just messes up the room a little bit and then agrees to go into business with the bloke and become some sort of pilot to go into mutant experimentation or something, I don't know. Then cuts to the house of Charles Xavier. He's a little kid as well, and he's walking through the house and he finds Mystique trying to steal food. He tells her that she no longer has to steal food, and they pretty much adopt her and they become sort of brother and sister. A few years later, Eric has become sort of vengeful against the Nazis that were experimenting on him all those years ago with his powers, and he wants revenge against them. Whereas Charles, he's a student at Oxford University. I think he's studying genetics. We also get introduced to Sebastian Shaw, who's a mutant in this, and he's a bad guy. I don't know whether or not he was a mutant in the comics. I never actually read them. But he can absorb energy, sort of pretty much anything, radiation, fire, and stuff like that, and then he can send it back out again. Yeah, he's trying to start a war between America and Russia. There was something mentioned about how when one version of humans sort of managed to evolve years ago, when they met the less evolved forms, the higher evolved forms wiped them out. So I think it was something to do with mutants trying to wipe out humans so that they can then dominate the planet. When Shaw was one of the Nazis that had something to do with what happened in Poland all those years ago. So when he tries to get revenge, he ends up getting stopped by Professor X, who tells him that if he'd carried on, he would have been killed. They end up joining the team, and they get discovered by the CIA, who are also trying to track down Shaw. They get taken to a CIA complex where they are introduced to Hank McCoy, and he has managed to take a CIA invention that I think it like boosts some sort of signal to change it so that it can boost psychic powers, and they've called it Cerebro. So that's that over and done with. He uses it to track down loads of mutants, and they start trying to recruit their own army. There is a cameo from one of the other mutants. I'm not going to say who it is and ruin it, even though loads of other reviewers probably have, but it is absolutely hilarious, and it's probably one of the best lines of the film, frankly. So they get a few mutants together. I think they get Havoc, Banshee, Darwin, and a woman Angel, even though there is an Angel already, so I don't know why they've got her. She's got wings, more like butterfly sort of wings. So they join their own army, even though there's only just enough of them to start a band, but we'll just roll with it. So they start to try and track down Shaw, who's trying to place missiles in various places around the world, thinking it will start World War III, which will end up annihilating everyone. Lynch just wants to go after him to get revenge, whereas Charles is trying to sort them out because he thinks that humans and mutants can live together in peace. They go back to the mansion where they start using it for the training facility. With Havoc, he's got these sort of like energy rings that sort of spin around him, and then you can fire them off, and they are really cool. But Beast makes him a like uniform thing where it's got a circle bit there, and instead of having it rings that he then fires, it just shoots it out in a beam. So he's pretty much ripping off Cyclops. So they start doing a bit of training. Banshee gets that uniform where if he uses his sonic waves at the floor, I think it'll be like caught back in this capey thing, and then he can fly. But they get attacked by Sebastian Shaw. He's got some little mutant mates. One of them sort of causes whirlwinds in his hand, and he can throw them off, cause big, huge hurricane things. And there's also a sort of a red version of Nightcrawler. Now, Nightcrawler is one of my favourite mutants, particularly with the opening to the second film. In this, there is a scene where the red Nightcrawler blokey, Aziz or something like that, he sort of goes around teleporting around, slashing at all these people, and he starts killing them. Problem was, they didn't actually do it quite as well as they did with the opening to X-Men 2. Had they have done that, it would have been amazing, but it was okay as it was. So the mutants all get together, they go after Sebastian, and they try and stop him. I think they're trying to... Shaw has done it so that a group of... A boat will take some missiles to Cuba, but if they cross a certain line on the way to Cuba, it will be declared an act of war, which will end up starting World War III. So you've got everyone on all these boats out in the sea, you've got the ship going towards Cuba, and then you've got all the mutants. Although Angel ended up joining up with Sebastian Shaw, as did Darwin, but I think it was sort of some plan where they were going to try and beat them up, but Darwin ended up getting killed. He was actually pretty cool. I think there was one point where he put his face into a fish tank and he grew gills on the side of his face so he can adapt to survive. So they could have done quite a bit with him throughout the film, but they decided to kill him off, which was quite a shame. So there's sort of the big battle at the end between sort of Sebastian Shaw and Magneto. So David is there going, no, don't go in there, but completely fails. Shaw's actually got the helmet that Magneto has, and spoiler alert by the way, Magneto manages to kill Shaw by using the coin that he was training on when he was younger at the camp. Magneto goes straight through the centre of his head and out the back, which is a little bit gross. He then, after they've killed Shaw, Banshee and Havoc fight the Angel Woman and Azazel, and that's quite a good fight. The people on the boat get ordered to fire at the mutants on the beach. And as you've got all the rockets coming along, Magneto stops them and then starts to send them back. Charles Xavier sort of says, no, don't do it. He then jumps on him. Can't use his psychic powers because he's taken Shaw's helmet, where that comes from. And they end up having a bit of a fight, and the missiles end up either exploding, dropping into the sea, but they end up missing. Then someone starts shooting at Lensher, and he's deflecting off all the bullets, and one of them ends up going into Xavier, hitting him right in the spine, and he says he can't see the legs, which is what caused him to go into the wheelchair. Mystique ends up joining up with Lensher. They go off together with Azazel and Angel, and the others all go back to the... Well, Charles goes back to the mansion. It's not really explaining what happened to Banshee or Havoc. They just seem to disappear. And he goes on about how he's looking forward to having his first group of mutants into the school. And it pretty much just ends there. As a general film, yes, it was very good. The main problem I had with it was the number of continuity errors that it had throughout the entire film. Like, Hank McCoy being the person to build Cerebro, him, even in the first film, Patrick Stewart said that it was Eric Lensher who helped him build it, and yet now it seems to have been Hank McCoy who built it based on some sort of previous CIA project. Also, because at the end of the film he ends up being paralysed, at the end of X-Men Origins, which was actually not that great, at the end of the film you see Patrick Stewart stood there and he welcomes all the new recruits, and yet that can't happen now because he's now paralysed this early on. And also at the end of beginning of X-Men 3 rather, when they go and see Jean Grey, you have Patrick Stewart and I can't remember his name now, bloke who played Lensher together. Patrick Stewart's not in a wheelchair. That's just completely gone out the window, so they've now gone their separate ways already. And there's just a few things where it just completely ruins it, really, just because they've not stuck with the original premise. But either way, it was a very good film. The characters were very well done, even though there weren't any of the what would be considered the main X-Men. So there's no Nightcrawler, Iceman, Jean Grey. None of them lot are in it. It's just some random lot that they seem to pick. It is good that they have gone with new mutants rather than just using the same ones over and over and over and over again. They have done really well with these random ones, and you do actually get really involved with it. It's just over a 2-hour film, and yet the 2 hours just flies by, and it was a really, really good film. And if you do get a chance to see it, go and see it. If you're not a fan of the X-Men, go and see it anyway. It is really good. Very good special effects. Yeah, good one. See you next time. Oh, before I go, actually, there was one thing that I saw on the way to the cinema which actually freaked me out. It was a poster of a skull, and it had the number 5 going through it. And I thought, okay, what's that then? At the bottom, 3 words which absolutely terrified me. Final Destination 5. No! No, 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 no! No! No. See you next time.